Okay. Good evening, everybody. We're going to call the Clovis City Council meeting to order for June 2nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. And at this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Bessinger to lead us in the flag salute.
Please join me in saluting our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. You may be seated. Can we get roll call, please?
Councilmember Ashbeck? Here. Councilmember Baskell? Here. Councilmember Bessinger?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce? Here. And Mayor Moanatua?
Here. Okay. This time we're going to have public comment. So if you are here, this is the opportunity for the members of the public to address the City Council on a matter that is not on the agenda tonight. So if you would like to address the council, you may do so. You have 3 minutes. And if you could state your name and give an address for the record.
Josh Fulfer, 434 West Paul Avenue. Good evening, City Council. It is officially June. So what does that mean? That means that we can celebrate 53 years of Title IX. And I think that's great. Title IX defends against sex-based discrimination. And that was official from our Department of Education today. And then I wanted to say thank you to the three people, the three council members who showed up at the press conference standing up for these young athletes that were forced to compete against a male, unfortunately. It's a sad day, and I think it was even sadder to not have all 5 of you there. This is not a political issue. I get it, it can be a little controversial, but political expediency, I don't think, is a reason to miss something like this. And so the community appreciates you. I appreciate you. And I was kind of interested when I first heard how many police were going to be there, to be honest with you. And then I seen this comment, and this was directed towards Diane. The people that stand have some of the worst enemies. So if you don't get these comments, you need to do a little more. And it was about a Fox 26 News article that says Clovis Police Department says they will have additional officers at the CIF State Track and Field Championship. And so this person who has been here in this council before from out of town, so that we could continue pushing pornographic books on our children at the public library, said that the people that showed up at that press conference were going to have blood on their hands, and pretty much goes into saying that the council only wanted white people there. Well, I'll just let you know, Ethan Kroll was arrested for felony assault with a deadly weapon when he attacked me and my family on the corner of Maple and Nees that day. He was a trans Tifa member that was wearing completely black bloc, very similar to wearing the clothes in a murder we just had happen at where a young man was killed in McDonald's at Willow Station. And I am thankful. I am thankful for Clovis PD, their fast actions. Within probably 40 seconds of it happening, Clovis PD was jumping the fence to go take down this person. And I was grateful for that. So I want to say once again, thank you for those of you who stood for the females and against this insanity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm old. I have to put my readers on. I know many of you. I'm a lifelong Clovis resident. My name is Danny Boyles. I'm a former planning commissioner. I served with Len on the planning commission. I left the Navy in 1998, and I came home. I have to tell you, I came home to a Clovis I recognized. I don't recognize many of you anymore. I don't recognize the hate that so many of you on this council have decided is the face of Clovis. Leaders like Harry Armstrong and Tom Stern and Lynn are why I have a neighborhood like Loma Vista to live in, why we have a safe community with solid police and fire services, why people are willing to pay more to live here and have those protections. But I become more worried each time a new outrage comes across social media that Clovis will fail. Because too many of you choose to focus on that manufactured outrage than doing your job. I wish this council would take action to make our streets more safe for bicyclists, an issue that has cost lives, including a life in my family. Instead, you call press conferences to talk about immigration, something you have no legal authority over. I wish you would expand code enforcement so that the porta potty business running 2 streets over from my house out of another house could maybe be curtailed. Instead, you hold hate rallies to protest one teenager who doesn't even live here. I wish time could be spent helping locally owned businesses deal with the current uncertainties of tariffs and policies that change each day via social media. Instead, some of you seem to wake up each day and run to that social media to see where you will be led that day. I'll leave you with this. When I came home because I wanted my children to have the upbringing I had. And they have, but unfortunately, as mixed-race kids of 2 veterans, they also experienced racial hatred from classmates whose parents never taught them better. They were called names at gas stations or ostracized because they were different. Just as some of you have spent the last several weeks ostracizing someone who's different, who you don't even know. Clovis deserves leaders who want to focus on our city. We need leaders who will do better. You need to do better.
Thank you, Mr. Boyles.
Hi, I'm Danelle Black, also a lifelong resident of Clovis. Left a few times, but also chose to come back here to raise my children. I also am a former Clovis High varsity track and cross-country athlete, and I'm very, very proud of the fact that we host the state meet in both sports. I know this pride is shared by other Clovis residents, and I know that these meets contribute to our local economy. I feel that we should focus on making these visitors feel welcome when they come to Clovis. Last week, I was saddened to see several members of the council speaking about the inclusion of a transgender athlete in the state meet. This is troubling for several reasons. First, you are elected to this council to handle civic affairs. There are separate governing bodies for school districts and high school sports. This is something that should be legislated in those bodies and decided. It's a very complicated issue, which I'll get to. Secondly, focusing on this one out-of-town athlete, as my brother Denny mentioned, took the attention away from the many other student athletes that were here to compete. And as a mother of also Clovis graduates, and in my line of work, I meet a lot of, high school age kids, and many of them don't share your views. So you're speaking for people that maybe don't agree with you. It also encouraged further protests at the event, which unfortunately led to some violence, it sounds like. I was heartened to hear that when medals were presented, all of the athletes acted graciously and congratulated each other. And so that gave me some hope. Competing at a state meet is stressful enough without this added focus of hatred. You're entitled to personal beliefs, but you should not be using your elected office to share them. As a licensed professional clinical counselor, I could speak to you about the type of harm this type of hatred does to the mental health of children. As someone who has counseled transgender individuals, I'm confident in saying you have no idea what these individuals have been through in their life. And other members of the LGBTQ community, they deal with so much hatred, and You know, unless you've walked in those shoes, you really don't have any right to speak for them. Again, this is a complex issue, and I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with having that athlete compete. I think there's a lot to be discussed, and I think it's important that it's a level playing field for everyone. But let that happen in the agencies that are responsible for that, and stick to the business that you were elected to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
I usually don't talk off notes, but it's going to take me a minute because my name is Kendra DeVegian. I am a lifelong Clovis resident. My grandmother moved her family here during the Dust Bowl. They were the poor Okies that worked the fields. She was a strong Christian woman, and she raised me not to hate anyone and to love everyone. So I stand here as a voter. I also stand here on behalf of my daughter, who's a Clovis East graduate of last year, who can't be here tonight because she's down kicking ass at UC Irvine as an honor student who's also queer. So that's who I'm speaking for tonight, just so we're clear. I'm here tonight to respectfully urge you to keep this council focused on the real priorities facing our city, not CIF policies on transgender student athletes, AKA stay in your lane. Council members, I understand that many of you are passionate about this issue, but CIF is a statewide organization tasked with governing school athletics. And I will tell you that not only did I serve as the cheerleader at Clovis High, coached for 8 years, varsity chair at Clovis High School, so I understand what goes into athletics and how we support our female athletes. This is not a municipal responsibility. When our city council steps into debates that are outside its jurisdiction, especially ones that are divisive and politically charged, it distracts from the work that you were all elected to do. We need leadership on public safety, on water, infrastructure, and housing. Let's talk about our unhoused issue. The things that directly affect Clovis families every day. That's what our tax dollars support, and that's where your time and energy should be spent. Dragging Clovis into culture wars does not solve a single problem here in our community. It only creates division in a community that should be focused on unity, growth, and respect. So I ask you to lead with restraint. Let CIF handle CIF issues just as they don't meddle in your Clovis City Council issues. And let the school system handle student concerns as they do beautifully in our district. And let the City Council stay laser focused on making Clovis a strong, safe, and inclusive place for everyone who calls it home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings, folks. I'm Stetler Brown. I'm a communications scholar and professor, and I live here in Clovis, and I have some planned remarks. Greetings, City Council and members of the community. I am Stetler Brown. I am a resident in this wonderful city. I spoke to the press on Thursday after Mayor Pro Tem Pierce's press conference occurred in Veterans Memorial District. And I also gave interviews on Friday at Veterans Memorial Stadium to help support the LGBTQ community during this time. In your capacity, especially Mayor Pro Tem Pierce, you made disparaging comments in a Fox News article that circulated with nationwide impact, and you shared that article on your feeds for everyone to see. In there, you have quoted as saying you want people to have compassion for A.B. Hernandez, while misgendering her consistently. Whether intentional or unintentional, misgendering dehumanizes trans people like her and stripping her of her dignity when she deserves like every resident in the city of Clovis. I am a person of faith, as you have expressed publicly. My father is involved in the faith community here in town, and he has handled my public coming out as a gay man with grace and humanity when it was in conflict with his beliefs. We have always disagreed on things, but he has always had love at the forefront of everything. He has never voted, or not voted, but tried to strip me of my dignity and humanity as a person. When I brought a partner home for the first time, he treated that person with love and compassion like any other person who was dating one of his kids. He has never disparaged the LGBTQ community to be able to gain favor with his stakeholders. And if he did, he would have had massive amounts of support for doing so. Jesus' life models how we are to love the stranger, even when we don't understand, as exemplified in the parable of the Good Samaritan, his interaction with the woman at the well and the man with leprosy. Your actions turned the CIF state championship into a political spectacle to gain attention from the federal administration to promote a gubernatorial candidate, casting a political cloud over hundreds of students' achievements and for their weekend at Veterans Memorial Stadium. Allie Murphy, a longtime resident here in Clovis, died last year after a 14-year battle with breast cancer. Allie lost her daughter, Chloe, from the bullying she received in a Clovis high school. Your actions that you have engaged in your official capacity are not any different to what Chloe endured. Allie dedicated her life after Chloe's passing to fight for everyone's dignity, even when she herself did not completely understand what their identity meant. This speech is for Allie, who would have given anything to have more time with her daughter. This is for Chloe, who deserved better. And this is for all the LGBTQ in our community who have had their humanity taken away because elected officials refused to stand up for their dignity and humanity, even when they disagreed.
Thank you, Sutter.
Didn't want to cut the line, just in case I was being rude to anybody. So I've spoken to you before. My name is David Rowell. I'm a Clovis resident since 1991. Like everybody else, I've noted lots and lots and lots of public media over the last week and more about this incident with the CIF scholarships. And certainly many members of this council have been on public media expressing opinions, and I've noted that people have claimed that they're trying to protect people. They're trying to protect girls. They're ascribing this to some sense of, taking care. Well, I'm all in favor of taking care. I think taking care and protecting are vitally important things. It's been the whole of my career. Back when I was an RN, I was in charge of, I worked in the ER. I was in charge of the unit that gave chemotherapy. I worked on a surgical unit. I would come home from work having saved lives, literally, and it was the best part of being a nurse. Then I became a lawyer, and it's still the main focus of what I do. I help people who are caught in the gears of the system. They need help, and I'm helping them and protecting them. So I totally applaud efforts to protect others. But I have to say, what I've seen in the public media is not protecting. It's not standing up. It's people advocating for positions that they care about in order to advance a political narrative that is personal to them. And frankly, I find that shameful, that any member, let alone a member of our city council, would throw a person under the bus because it lets them stand in front of the press and get called out by our would-be king. That's shameful, and nobody should be proud of that. It's especially ironic in that some members of this council claim to be Christians. Would Jesus do that? Would Jesus throw a kid under the bus because it makes him look better? I don't believe so. And if any Christian claims that he is, that's clearly not true, and that person needs to go back to school. I spent the first 12 years of my life in religious school, so I think I have some understanding of that. That's not protecting. Jesus didn't talk about standing up or throwing. He talked about forgiving and caring and loving. So I would encourage you to do that. I think it's important to note that the athletes themselves didn't ask for this protection. In fact, they came out on the other side. They said, "We love this girl," and they called her a girl. She's one of the best competitors on our team. She's one of the best athletes we have. We love her. Clearly, creating this furor is not intended to protect anybody. So then you have to ask, well, if that ain't what it is, what is it? And I think the obvious answer is notoriety. Notoriety, as we've heard, does not serve the city of Clovis, and it's not what you should be doing. the people who have spoken already have articulated that much better than I can, and I would urge you to pay attention to that. If you do want to help people, find somebody else to help, and I would suggest that maybe a good place to start are the 200,000 or 300,000 people here in the Central Valley who are going to lose health care because the big, beautiful Billionaire Protection Act that our would-be king is trying to shove through Congress, that's going to pass. And all those people are still going to get sick. They're still going to show up in the ER and in the hospital, but they're not going to have health insurance to pay for it. So, you know, who's going to pay for it? So if you want to make a fiscally sound decision too for the city of Clovis, make sure that Medi-Cal doesn't get eviscerated like some people want to do so billionaires can have more money. That'd be good for Clovis. Do that in your private capacity, please, not in front of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Okay, my name is Belva Mays. I'm going to go ahead and report something good. As far as I'm concerned anyway. On Thursday.
Thelma, can you pull the mic down?
On
Thank
Thursday,
you.
okay. And I'm not a long-term resident of Clovis, okay? I've been there since 2017. But I just want to say, you guys have done something good. You have gone ahead and redone the station number 2. Oh, I tell you what, I went over there. I didn't know where it was. I thought, wow. And I thought, okay, I have this time. I just had lunch. And I thought, here's the paper, you know, saying here's where it is. I thought, hey, I have time. I'm going to go see this. So I did. And I'm so glad I did because you're doing the right thing with the firemen and the firewomen. They're both there together. So anyway, they don't come down the pole anymore. They don't live in the same place. Oh, it's a beautiful place. Go ahead and see it. I mean, it's got exercise. Okay, so who helped me with this was Tom, Charlie, and Austin. They were great. Thank you.
Thank you, Thelma.
Good evening. Eric Rollins, long-term Clovis resident. I want to point out that I was at that press conference. None of the council members that were there, nor any of the other politicians, came as official representatives of their city government, whatever level, whether it's state government, they came as individuals. I believe they have as much freedom and liberty to go out and advocate for something they believe in. I was also, because I'm in favor of not having biological boys in girls' sports, referred to as a hater a couple times. Now, I'm a hater because I think there's an inherent unfairness there. That didn't seem right. I was listening to somebody speak before me that talked about me not being Christian, but careful with that. When you throw stones, you need to make sure you have your own house in order. Yes, we should love everybody, but that doesn't mean we necessarily love the sin. It's not that simple. So I went to that press conference because I believe that girls need to be protected, that there is a absolute inherent difference, and no matter how much or we take chemicals or use surgeries, there is still an inherent difference, because if you were to look at the skeleton of that person in 100 years, they have a different bone structure. If you were to look at the DNA, you would know that whether they were male or female. So for me, it was about protecting, not necessarily, once you're an adult, do what you want to do. There is liberty in this country, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm okay with the fact that some people have different opinions than me. I'm not as okay with being called a hater when they don't know me. They know nothing about me personally. I thank you for this time.
Thank you, Eric.
Good evening. My name is Nasreen Johnson. I'm privileged enough to be in space with you as another elected official. And while I understand that I saw photos of at least 3 of you there, that you were not there in your official public capacity, but I understand, as I'm sure you do, that when you're an elected official, you're in that capacity and you wear that title wherever you go. So if you drive drunk home one night, you are a council person. If you show up to lead a press conference which espouse vitriol towards a teenager, you wear that also. And so I come to you before you, not in my elected role, but there is something that relates. But as a mother, I also don't come as a Clovis resident, and I want to make that really clear. I live in Fresno. But unfortunately, Clovis doesn't have walls that keep hateful comments in Clovis where they originated. They bleed into the community I live in too. And my children, who I am fortunate enough to be the parent of, are beautiful rainbow teenagers. And I had two options when my children came out to me as trans non-binary. I could, for my fear, push them to not be their authentic selves, which I know has social, emotional, and mental health repercussions. I could be their first bully by doing that. Or I could stand in front of them every single time somebody comes at them with anything other than love and shield them and try to change the world. And so that's what I'm working on as their mother. Now, as it relates to my elected role, I work all the time with our young people at the community college and their advisors and their faculty and people as they're trying to take trips to other communities for championships, for sporting events, for meetings, for all sorts of educational opportunities. And do you know what their biggest fear is? When they have a trans student traveling with them, is where can we stop and safely use a public restroom? How welcoming will that community be? What will I need to do to put myself between hateful comments so that I can shield this young person just for existing? And so I ask that instead of spreading anything but love, that we approach things that we don't understand with wonder and with curiosity and try to learn more. I'm happy to sit down with each and every one of you and talk about biology, science, facts, trans people. I will introduce you to folks that are living in our community. I will do whatever I can to help you have a greater understanding of what they're dealing with, but I'm asking that you please focus on things that this body has control over, and please don't put children, teenagers, and our community in the line of fire and in the line of hate so that you can score, media. Please, I'm asking you as a parent. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazarene.
My name is Bill Scott, and I live at 341 Evergreen. I've lived in Clovis since 1979, so I've been here a while. I have two brothers that were gay. I also have a rental house that I rented to a couple of lesbians. And of all the people that have rented that house, I'd take them back in a minute. But that doesn't excuse the fact that homosexuality is a sin. Now, that's just, it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not worse, it's not better than cheating on your spouse. They're both sins. One's not worse, one's not better. And yes, Jesus did save an adulteress from being stoned, but he also told her, now go and sin no more. There's two kinds of people in this world. Those who will give up their sins in order to feel comfortable in the presence of God, and those who will give up God in order to feel comfortable in their sins. Now, I've heard a lot of people call it hatred. I think the hatred's going towards Diane. Diane's a member of the city of, a council member of the city of Clovis, but she's also a United States citizen, and she has a right to speak her mind And that's what she did. This wasn't using the city of Clovis. She may have had more attention on her because she's part of the city of Clovis Council, but she's still an individual that has a right to speak her mind, and nothing should be able to take that away at all. What this comes down to is, what are we going to do with norms in our society? For millennia, there have been men and women. If you have an XY chromosome and you're capable of impregnating a woman, you're a man, period. If you're capable of giving birth and suckering a baby, you're a woman, period. Anything else is nonsense. It's just nonsense. Now, we're hearing things about trying to be kind to other people, and there's no reason why we can't be kind. But imagine if this continues on. There's no way a biological man should be allowed into a woman's shower room. Just imagine a bunch of teenage kids where there's no difference. There's one changing room for everybody to go into, and you got a bunch of 16-year-old boys and girls taking showers together. That's going to be a mess. It's going to be. We can't allow that, period. End of story. Thank you.
Thank you, Boo.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. I like to just reiterate what he had said. I totally agree with him. Diane, I believe standing up for your rights as a U.S. citizen is the most important part of any citizen of the United States. So I appreciate your valor on that. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
I wasn't going to speak, but now I need to. I'm Jenny Cran, and I live on Bullard Avenue in Clovis. And as somebody who was unable to have a child, I just found out that I'm not a woman. Anyway, when we get into these kinds of categories, we're being kind of silly. I want to commend, though, the staff at Clovis Unified, particularly at Buchanan High School, for running a good track meet. There was maybe some problem outside, but inside, they handled it well. There were people there to provide support for the athletes. And we need to remember that these are young people, they're young athletes. Nobody wanted Donald Trump talking about their track meet. They wanted to just do, after years of very hard work and practice, they wanted to do their best. And they did, and we're proud of them, and we're proud of the staff for the way it was handled. And I'm proud of also a number of people who have spoken out tonight, and thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
I wasn't going to say anything either, but as a woman, as a mother of women, graduates of Clovis, for many years, women worked for Title IX to make women's sports what it is, because it didn't used to be. I think this is being misconstrued as Diane coming out with hate. No, it's not hate. It's saving women's sports. And as soon as you open the door and let men in, it's never going to be the same. I really believe that men should not be in women's locker rooms. Men should not be in women's prisons. Just had a man get 3 women pregnant because somebody thought that was such a good idea. We should not have men in women's bathrooms. Women deserve privacy. And we should not have men in women's sports to save the sports for women. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Okay, seeing no one else, we have two comments written to us. One is about catalytic converters, and the other one is regarding this specific issue tonight. In the back? Oh, so two on this issue tonight that we've heard a lot of comments on, and then one is on catalytic converters. So with that, we'll go ahead and close the public comments portion. We'll move now to the consent calendar. This is an opportunity on the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are routine in nature and are recommended for approval by the City Council. These items will be considered and voted on as a single item unless a council member requests separate consideration of any item. We have items 1 through 10. Anyone on the council like to pull any of the items? Okay, seeing none. Okay, go ahead. Is anyone in the public like to speak on items, the consent items 1 through 10? Okay, seeing none.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent items 1 through 10.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move now to the public hearings. We have 2 items for public hearings tonight. The first is item 11. It's the introduction of ordinance 25, adding chapter 5.36 to Title 5 of the Clovis Municipal Code pertaining to regulation of commercial grade scrap metal. Staff on this is our city manager, Andy Housley.
Thank you, members of the council. On April 14th this year, council directed staff to bring back an item to address the regulation of commercial grade scrap metal. We have our city attorney's office here with Matt Lear and Corporal Kosalova. Did I say that right, Amber? To present on the item, I'll turn it over to them.
Good evening, members of the council. Like Mr. Hauser said, we came back to council after being given direction to produce a ordinance dealing with scrap metal and thievery of scrap metal. And so we're open to any questions. There's really not too much else to get into there. But Officer Kosalova has some statistics, and we work together with Clovis PD to put together the ordinance. And it's pretty similar to the one that was passed by both Fresno County and the City of Fresno, with some additional input from Clovis PD.
Yes, I can speak on some of it. A lot of what we were seeing was a heavy theft for any type of aluminum and copper wire thievery. As the law reads, essentially you have to prove that it's stolen, that kind of thing. What this municipal code would do would be able to take any type of commercial grade wiring that has been most likely stolen and be able to charge somebody with it, either as a misdemeanor crime or as an administrative citation. And so what that's doing is, without having to prove it's stolen, based on how it's kept and the commercial grade and stripping its sheath, as you will, essentially that's enough grounds to say that it is stolen, and they're using it to gain access for money and that kind of thing. And so they're using it to recycle it, and it's most likely stolen from essentially new housing developments or anything like that. We have had several calls for service over the last 5 years in Clovis alone, and the property value or damage that it's done to our residents and the city of Clovis is toppled over $236,000. So this municipal code just kind of is a proactive approach to help police department to charge people that are going around stealing the copper wire. And the bright side is that it has reduced in the last couple of years because of our approach to locking certain stuff. So the city has done a great job of proactively doing that.
Go ahead, Matt.
Just a quick question. Is the district attorney's office on board with this as far as prosecution from the modifications?
To my understanding, they are, just because I know that the city of Fresno and county of Fresno have also kind of been on board. But the bright side is that our administration, doing an admin site, which might be a better approach, we would have more teeth in that. So for every 10 feet, it's $1,000 citation or a charge. So our officers have that discretion to do an administrative citation or the criminal citation.
Okay, thank you.
So hopefully they would be on board.
And if it, since it's a municipal code violation, we could charge it as, our office could charge it as a misdemeanor, and we can bring it ourselves. We currently do the code enforcement for municipal code violations for the city, criminally.
Has this successfully been adjudicated in a California court? You know, to Matt's point, that you got to get the DA, if you're going to do it in a municipal court, the DA's got to file the case, or the city attorney needs to bring the case in. Has this passed judicial muster yet?
I'd have to double check on that. I haven't seen anything negative relating to a municipal code like this addressing these particular issues. I think it's still outside, I think it still falls out, or our opinion is that it still falls outside any state law preemption.
Yeah, maybe I didn't make my question clear. Have any municipalities or counties who have adopted an ordinance similar to this, have they taken it to court and prevailed against individuals that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of a case like that, no.
Okay. My only concern with this is a failure, because the burden of proof is on us that something is stolen. So I'm just wondering if, I'm willing to take it for a walk and say what happens.
Mr. Mayor, if I could answer Councilman Bessinger's question. I think on both sides, we haven't seen a challenge to it be successful from a defendant statewide either. So I think we're in kind of uncharted territory, so to speak, but I think we're willing to take a shot. As Corporal said, the municipal code provision basically makes it a crime for the possession over a certain limit, which the assumption is there's a theft going on. No reasonable person would have this amount of scrap metal in their possession unless it was stolen. And so we're willing to take that, I guess, to court if need be and see if it's challenged. Up to this point, it has not yet been challenged.
We'll open it up to the public comment in a little bit. My question is it easily determined commercial grade versus something I would buy at Lowe's? Because I read it here that it's 15 inches or greater, and I don't know if greater is spelled wrong, G-R-A-T-E-R, but. But is it easily identifiable from our officers who are stopping someone? Do they have the trained eye to go, that's commercial versus 10 feet of what you would buy at Lowe's or?
Yeah, anything that you're going to buy just offhand in regular big box store per se is not going to be your typical stuff that's being stolen. Okay. It's the big spools, the AT&T wire off AT&T trucks per se, or like the air conditioning type of wiring. So it's pretty obvious and notable that it's not just your commercial or your normal grade stuff.
And I thought I read that if someone is a commercial license being able to carry it, they are exempt because they're able to carry it. For example, they may carry it home or something. Yeah, it's their job.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
There are definitely specifications. Even people that go doing like scrapping, as they call it, or going to like junkyards and that kind of stuff, they are still able to carry it if they have a business license and stuff that pertains to that, or if you're a general contractor, that kind of stuff. There are definitely people that are exempt. It's not just your normal, citizens that are going out trying to do a job or have, excess of stuff. It's the ones that are willfully going out and stealing it and causing damage.
Okay. And then, but this ordinance makes it where possession, they are guilty already, meaning we can arrest them already. We can cite them already.
It's giving us probable cause.
And then they have to prove that they have those exemptions.
Yes, if they wanted to prove that they did have a business license to carry it or something like that, and they didn't have it right then and there for us to see, then that's something that they can bring forth, and we can, dispute it at that time in front of the city attorney's office. But if they don't have anything to show for why they should be in possession of that, that's pretty much giving us probable cause.
Okay. And if it's 9 feet, it's okay? Per the code?
Yeah,
Okay.
as per,
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and open up to the public. If you have any comments or questions, you can address your questions in the weekend.
Again, David Rowell, resident of Clovis. And I just want to say, and this is responsive to Councilmember Bessinger's question. I'm stepping up to support the city attorney. I don't think you have to prove a crime. They're not being charged with theft. Theft never even comes into it. So they're cited. They appear before the judge. Were you carrying the copper? Yes. Did you have a license? No. Guilty. Didn't matter where you got it. It wasn't illegal possession. It was carrying it without a license. So, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. Something has come up recently, and it's not listed in the ordinance. Fire department connections, they're made of brass. And one of our nature center that was just opened up has gotten theirs stolen. It happened a while back. But that's another material that is being stolen because brass carries a high dollar value. So that's not listed in there, but most people aren't driving around with those unless you're a plumber and working on a big job. So I don't know if that wanted to be added, but.
Any comments on that?
yeah, just to clarify, this is specific to copper and aluminum wiring. We have discussed that, and that is something that we may be looking into because those connectors are being stolen, and there's no real reason to possess those other than to recycle it. So that is something that we probably be discussing with our city attorney to maybe include that.
Later date?
Yep.
Okay,
correct.
Thank you. Good.
Bill Scott, 341 Evergreen, Clovis. Usually you don't allow questions, but it sounds like we're getting a little bit of back and forth here. There's also a thing in there that says that if the insulation has been taken off, that's one of the things that sets this off, if it's just plain copper or aluminum. Well, twice in my life, and I'm old enough now, I don't think I've got the ambition to do this anymore, but a company I used to work for that had a great big warehouse replaced all their lighting, and they threw it in a garbage can. And I asked the owner, could I have it? And he let me take it, and I took it home, stripped it all off, and took it down and sold it. Another one was a contractor that threw a bunch of it away, and I did the same thing. Now, realizing this was a problem, I got letters from both of them that said it was okay to take it, but you don't seem to discuss that possibility in this. And does that mean that the scrap yards are going to take copper with the coating on it rather than they want you to take it off? So, you know, it's just, you guys are all asking questions, and I could have gotten a big bunch of trouble back then if I'd have got caught with that. But like I say, it wasn't theft, somebody let me have it. So I don't know, can you guys kind of talk about that?
I think that comes down to the discretion of officers, and in that situation, if you were telling us that story and we're able to verify that story, and you know see the letters and see somebody that talk to somebody that says, oh yes, I know him, I gave him permission, I think that weighs heavily on our decisions. It's the people that were kind of stopping in the middle of the night that just came out of a brand new housing development where they're laying the line, the wiring and stuff, and now there's damage, and it's putting the pieces together and realizing that there's a bigger damage.
Well, yeah, and I understand that completely. I just kind of be aware there are a few small situations where somebody could end up in trouble. Just, well, I could spend a night in jail and get out tomorrow. So
always loopholes.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for that.
It's not going to be you again.
Anyone else in the public like to address?
Yeah, my name is Steve Trevino. I live on Bullard. I don't like this. I drove truck for a long time. For years, I used to find stuff on the streets. They have the pickups around my house. I drive around and you see a piece of metal or you see something, you pick it up, you throw it back in your truck. It seems to me that there's too many question marks here. There's too many question marks and there's too many ifs and perhaps. It doesn't seem very solid, you don't even know if the DA is going to prosecute it or not. And just because someone looks like a criminal or they're out in the middle of the night, they got something back of the truck. I mean, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem, it doesn't add up to me. So anyways, hey, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Anyone else in the public to address the council on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. Any other questions for staff on this? If not, entertain a.
I have a question.
Matt, go ahead.
As I go through this, is this actually even needed? I mean, we have so many other laws that are on the books that we handle through the penal code section of things. You know, I mean, when we're talking about the stuff that's on the fire hydrants, if we catch somebody for that, they're gonna go to jail for a felony because it's possession of a stolen property. It's gonna have more teeth than it's gonna be than under a muni code section. I guess, I'm not trying to put you necessarily on the spot, I'm just trying to work through this myself, thinking, you know, we're putting an ordinance in place because other cities put ordinances in place, but I don't really see that we need it. If we're gonna give somebody a fine for $1,000 who's stealing copper wire, they don't have $1,000 to pay us. So, I don't know, I just think we're just putting something on the books to put something on the books. That's my thought.
Just as a follow-up to that, is there any advantage, I felt that way when we brought it forward, but my question is there any advantage if the city of Fresno and the county, let's say, are biggest competitors for copper wire theft, if you want to compete in that space, is there any advantage that our ordinance is similar to other cities? Does it make us any more attracted to do more in our community because we didn't have this? Or it doesn't say much and you already going to use all those context clues about, is it somebody in the back of a pickup truck? Is it 2 a.m? Are you in a brand new housing development? Or are you like Mr. Scott, whose employer said, sure, take it home? I mean, I'm a little bit like Matt. Are we better because we have this to match the city of Fresno and the city of county of Fresno, or not?
I think it kind of closes some gaps that comes down to the theft being, because in the DA's office there's proving the theft and having to prove that it is stolen, where this is you're not necessarily having to prove it. You're just saying mere possession of and I stand corrected, I think it was 10 pounds, and then in the citation, if it's $1,000 per every 20 feet of aluminum or copper components. So just to clarify, but so it's not necessarily like a 9-foot, you have your wire, it's poundage. So I think it just essentially closes a gap of somebody that's out driving around has it at this point. A lot of times, just speaking of from experience, you can see it, you can take it for observation to say, this doesn't seem right, but I have no way of charging you right now for it because I can't prove that it's theft or damage, and I don't know where you got it from. Now, this is saying, hey, you are not supposed to be in possession of this. You have no reason or lawful reason to be in possession of it. So now you're getting a citation for it.
That's helpful. Thank you.
How many recyclers do we have? I'm only aware of one that would be taking in stuff like this. How many do we have?
Taking in, I know a lot of them are hesitant to do it because of knowing that a lot of it's stolen, but we do have, I would say, probably a handful. I know there's 2 or 3. I can't.
Okay, I'm only aware of the one on Hoblet and Jefferson, or Railroad, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's one on Jefferson, and then they're in like Railroad, and then there's one on Hoblet and.
I think it's the same company. And to Lynn's point, this allows us to create signs that they can put in the recycling center saying, and basically it's, don't come here to fence your stuff. Don't come here to steal your stuff, because most of the time when you have people who are doing this, they're looking for crimes of opportunity as they come in to fence the stolen stuff to begin with. So if we can maybe make it more difficult, I'm willing to take this for a walk and see where it goes.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it is specific to wiring. The gentleman that was talking about like the metaling and that kind of stuff, that's completely different than this ordinance.
Talking about closing the gap, I think where the county of Fresno really kind of brought this to the fore was because of all the businesses and that were suffering tens of thousands of dollars of damage, and the only place where there was any kind of law enforcement capability was at the recycling center. So that gap of who's transporting, who that middleman is between the theft site and the recycler, we wanted to find a way to have a deterrent opportunity there. And so, again, having that opportunities to kind of deter those who were committing the theft, when you can't prove the theft, that's where this kind of came from, was to make sure that those who were in between, and hopefully if we now can discourage the middlemen from doing the theft and then taking it to the recyclers, we're going to save our businesses tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. And so, again, I think that was the logic and thought process behind trying to close that gap and finding a way to do it. So I support that anytime that, I brought this forward to be in line with the County of Fresno and the City of Fresno's ordinances. I reached out to Chief Fleming to kind of get the lay of the land for what the situation was in Clovis, and there was support for making sure that we had a similar ordinance on the books. So thank you for the effort in working with our city attorney's office and all of that to bring this forward this evening. I'm glad to see it. Thank you.
Well, I'm with Councilmember Bessinger, and I'm willing to give it a try, but my hesitation is truly on the rights part, in that something legal I can own, something legal I can possess, and yet now I'm in trouble. And so that I know that, yes, because of what's going on, we need it. But every time we move that way where government can just get our citizens in trouble, I'm very fearful, because what's next? Computer? Because it's a big computer crime? So in other words, where it goes, I understand that this is something that's happening here, and we see a lot of it, but I just want us to just be my hesitancy is that specifically. So what's the pleasure of the council?
Well, I would like to make a motion to introduce adding Chapter 5.36 to Title 5 of the Clovis Municipal Code pertaining to regulation of commercial grade scrap metal.
Motion, can we get a second?
I'll second it, and I have your concern too about the civil liberties issue, but I'm confident our officers know the right thing to do.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so 4 ayes, 1 nay. Motion passes. And this will come back, right, Scott? I think it's going to come back. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next is item 12. Okay, this is consider approval of the 2025-2026 City of Clovis Annual Budget 5-Year Capital Improvement Program, Measure Y, and information regarding the Clovis Successor Agency. This was continued from the May 19th, 2025 meeting. And staff on this is our Finance Director, Jay Shango, and Andy Hausler, our City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll kick us off. So just a little bit of a recap where we're at. We're at the second budget hearing. This budget must be adopted by June 30th. Staff is requesting for approval tonight by City Council. 2 additional meetings are available in June if desired. The budget overall maintains and enhances public safety, implements Measure Y, continues capital investments in older neighborhoods, invests in planning for the future, and provides fiscal and services stability. Examples of that are 21 direct public safety positions and 11 support public safety positions. 92% of Measure Y is focused on public safety. There are $8 million investments in core neighborhoods. We are conducting facility and fleet assessments to develop long-term investment plans. We're conducting the general plan update and assessments of how future development is funded. But all this, we are in uncertain economic times. Indicators are all over the place. Uncertainty is high week to week and day to day. Revenues are seeing an impact here in Clovis, and many cities are making significant cuts to balance budgets, but Clovis is in a stable spot, a unique position, thanks to Measure Y. Measure Y will grow our sales tax revenue in 90%, 29 million to 55 million. It allows those critical services to grow and stabilize to meet our community's needs. Measure Y provides for the city to be in a place of stability during these volatile economic times. And like I said, we're in a unique spot. Measure Y itself, the non-hashed items are the ones that are currently in the budget. The hashed items are not. It's expected to bring in 26.2 million in revenue. The purple items are public safety related, equating to 92%. And we will be coming back to council with items as revenues come in to fund capital and facilities and fleet improvements for public safety as the year progresses and we understand how Measure Y is performing. With that, I'll turn it over to Jay for a few comments on the overall budget.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. The book is in front of you and is published online. There has been no changes as proposed since May 19th. A few of these slides are just repeats for the benefit of the crowd. So total 25-26 proposed budget is $395 million this year. 50 million of that is in the capital improvements program. There's 345 million operations, including now 124 million in general fund Measure Y, 119 million in enterprise funds, your water, sewer, refuse. 96 million in your internal service funds, so your fleet, your general services, employee benefit funds, and 6 million in special revenue funds. So here, just to show the outlay of discretionary revenues, your sales tax, your property tax. This year, we are using $100 million spread over the 10 departments. Police and fire still consuming approximately 83% of those discretionary dollars that are programmed into this book. Wanted to show the revenue sources, the 6 main revenue sources, and there's marginal growth in the taxes outside of Measure Y, but Measure Y is adding approximately 26 million, which changes the 3% into 33% year over year. Just as a summary, the 25-26 maintains and enhances public safety. We fully implemented Measure Y as far as the plan goes, which is in the Measure Y section of the proposed budget book. Fiscal and services stability in all of our funds, and we do have annual rate increases in place for utility funds for our water, sewer, and refuse. And with that, I'm here for any and all questions you may have.
Any questions or comments to Jay or to Andy at this time?
I have just one. Are we prepared to finalize the budget when our labor negotiations are in closed session?
Yes, we would be required to complete likely before all of our labor negotiations are complete, and any budget amendments would come back at a future.
I mean, does it make sense to do this tonight if we don't know what's ahead in closed session? I guess, isn't there a budgetary impact of what's in closed session potentially?
Potentially, but I would recommend approving the budget and considering budget amendments in the future to address those needs.
That makes no sense, but okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and open up the public portion. Anyone here to have any comments with regards to our 25-26 annual budget?
Turn your microphone on.
Thank you. My name is Steve Trevino. I live on Bullard. I briefly saw something up there that was talking about older neighborhoods. I would like to know if you're going to spend any money on older neighborhoods and if there's anything planned for the older neighborhoods. That's my question.
Okay. Can you, Andy, can you address that?
Let me get to the right page here. Just want to make sure I'm speaking accurately. Okay, so some of the capital projects in older neighborhoods, we have affordable housing programs to do housing rehabilitation, as well as some down payment assistance and emergency housing repairs. Further investment in code enforcement, making significant public street improvements in older neighborhoods, such as adaptive signalization on Shaw, reconstructing Willow Avenue, Sierra to Barstow, Barstow Avenue, Peach Avenue, Ashland Avenue, as well as some ADA improvements, sidewalk improvements, transit bus stop improvements, alleys, and economic development investments on the Shaw Avenue corridor. So those are some of the areas we've highlighted that encompass that $8 million of investment that was referred to earlier.
Thank you, Andy.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen Avenue. I'm going over the budgets of the last few years. I'm kind of not really sure. I understand we got the Measure Y money, we got general fund money. The numbers I pulled up, and it was on your at a glance that you have for the budget that you put together, very nice. I don't know how accurate those numbers are, but I'm hoping they are fairly accurate. In 21-22, the police department had 44 million on their budget. And then in 2022 to 2023, it was 47,800. And my math came out about a 1% increase. It stayed that way through the 24-25. You were 58,400,000. and it went to 60 for this, out of this budget, the numbers I could pull out was 63,890. I don't know how accurate those numbers are, but that's what I was able to get off the budget. So I'm questioning if 90% of Measure Y was, or 80% of Measure Y money was going towards the police department and fire department for public safety. Are you extrapolating out some of the 35 million for the benefits packages that are in this fiscal year? Or are they counted, is the budgets for the different departments also have in there that maybe personnel pays their payroll and it's not budgeted through the individual department? And that's my question. I'm not really sure how that works. It's just that the numbers aren't adding up for the money that you're supposed to be taking in, 26 million. And if those numbers just aren't adding up to me.
No, I understand. So it was staff's direction that we not allocate all of Measure Y in the first year. So the proposed budget does not have all of the expenditures related to Measure Y programmed in, and the ones that are in there are in public safety, including police and fire, but there's also monies in the fleet related to it that is not a direct expense of the police department.
Okay.
Or the IT services or some of those others are not directly in the sense of what you're looking for, a police department expenditure for the
Okay.
department.
So will the budget show those items within those part? I didn't see that. Some were delineated as Measure Y, and some weren't. So I'm not really sure, are we gonna be able to see that, those numbers in the future to determine that money was spent correctly?
Right. So on the summary of revenues and expenditures, it's towards the front of the book. We do have all the flows in and outs of each of the funds, and so Measure Y is split into approximately 5 funds, and then all of that is combined in the Measure Y section into one 30-page section that's readable for that. So we do have it broken out by section and then in totality in its own section.
So let me just verify, did the police department's budget get augmented by Measure Y and their general fund budget drop?
No.
Okay, because it still showed a 1.9% increase in the department from the 24-25 to 25-26. It showed an increase, but I understand there's some other pockets of money out there that are going to be going towards the police and fire in both their relatives, because the fire department was in the same boat.
Right.
They got about a 1.168 this year increase from the general fund. So it takes an accountant to figure it out, and I know you are. So I'm going to just have to give it up to you that's where we're at. But I'm concerned that the numbers in the overall general fund monies that were going to it dropped, and I didn't see where that. I see what their budget is, but it's not showing the amount of money that came out of the
And
funds.
Brian, if you have like more detail,
Okay.
I think our staff would be more than willing to
Thank you.
sit with you and answer so that way you can understand sort of the details.
Thank
But
you.
Thank you for your questions. Any questions from the public on the budget? Okay, if not, bring it back to the council. And so what's the pleasure of the council?
I agree with Lynn. I don't want to burden staff with having back with budget amendments. I don't think that's fair to staff. We have 2 more meetings in June. And quite frankly, whatever contracts we have that have not been settled, there's pressure being brought to bear to get that done. So I would not be okay approving the budget that is incomplete because of the negotiations.
Any other comments on that? What's the will of the council?
Just kind of separately to that, sort of to the public comment, I just want to thank staff and Andy's leadership on kind of bringing the budget process differently this year. I know Measure Y has been an incredible benefit to the budget process and to the city, and we thank the citizens for entrusting us with that money, but it has also kind of complicated some of the process. But because we've actually been looking at budget questions for months now, I think I, at least, and I understand the confusion of it, have an understanding of exactly what Measure Y is doing, how it's allocated to public safety, even if it isn't going directly into the police department budget or directly into the fire department budget. And I just think the finance department specifically, we keep calling it a heavy lift, and you guys really, really did a great job, not just of the work, but explaining it. So thank you so much for all of those efforts and bringing this to us. So I appreciate the questions from the public also, because, like I say, they're the ones who have given us the benefit of Measure Y, and so I'm pleased to see them participating, and I am grateful that we are committed to being responsive to them and how we're stewarding those funds. So I do appreciate my colleagues' concerns as far as the necessity of approving it tonight as opposed to waiting, but I'm also open to another kind of reason why there would be a benefit to approving it tonight and doing budget amendments as opposed to holding off, because I can kind of go with them if there's not a more solid reason.
So if I may, Mayor?
Yes.
So the budget process relative to negotiations and labor contracts, likely those amendments, and I'll look to Jay on those, that information wouldn't be available until after July 1st. Anyhow, the budget must be approved before the end of the month. A lot of those details won't be really known until right up against the end of the month. So it has been our practice in the past to come back with a budget amendment for any necessary changes to the budget based on labor negotiations. And make sure I didn't misspeak, Jay, but if that's accurate. So I wouldn't expect the budget form to change regardless of negotiation process in the next 2 weeks, for example, as we would need to come back and develop those exact language and changes to you in July or maybe early August.
Yeah, Andy, with your answer, I am very comfortable, and I was ready this evening because of the budget process. I think it speaks volumes to the entire city of the state of where we are in that other cities are struggling, but we were the first to approve, or we one of the first to actually say we are set, we're good. It gives confidence to the departments. And in the past, I recall 3 years ago, I don't recall this being an issue, but if it is, I'm more than comfortable coming back. Like you just said, it's going to come back after July anyway, and we will have approved it at the last meeting in June. And so we'll still be in the same predicament. So that's why I'm ready to move forward with the budget as presented this evening. So I don't know what the rest of the council.
Make a motion and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion that we continue item 12 for 1 week and discuss it at the June 9th meeting, and hopefully we'll have, I understand we're not going to have the numbers, but I would like to reduce staff work doing budget amendments.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. Okay, motion passes. We're going to continue to next week. Motion passed 3-2. And we will hear this again next week. With that, that completes our hearings. City manager comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Something fun. Our recreation team is going on the road and doing events throughout the city. There's a schedule there for you where they're going to come out to a park and bring their trailer full of fun items for kids to play with and run some programming in our parks this summer. So it's something exciting there. We're also still looking for citizens to apply through the end of this week for the Measure Y Oversight Committee. And we're still looking for Clovis Youth Commissioners to apply. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
All right. And then we'll move to council comments. Councilmember Basco.
Just a couple things. I went to the NKGSA water meeting a couple weeks ago. Nothing really out there at this point other than our water tables look like they're going to be okay for this year. They're down a little bit overall still, but we'll have more results here in the next meeting, hopefully probably in July. But outside of that, there was some well mitigation stuff that they're working on and some things that have been passed, but nothing of real significance right now. Thank you again, Renee and Thad. I believe the roundabout went live today. So there's actually like little pedestrian lights and everything working out there. So thank you for your efforts on that. And that's all I have for now. Oh, one other thing. I spoke on the Attorney General hearings office on the blackjack on Thursday. Was it Thursday? Thursday I spoke as part of that hearing against the state changes that they're proposing through the Attorney General's office.
Thank you. Councilmember Bessinger?
Thank you, Mayor. I had the honor and privilege to speak at 3 Memorial Day events, one at Academy Cemetery, one at Dry Creek Cemetery, and one at the Clovis Cemetery. We had a large amount of people at Memorial Day in Clovis. The Clovis Cemetery District does an excellent job honoring our veterans. The Memorial District did a really fine job afterwards with different events, music, and other really nice things for the veterans and families. So good job, Cemetery District and Veterans Memorial District. That's all I have.
Councilmember Ashbeck?
So thank you to those who commented. I'm going to take us back to the events the last few days, and I've written some notes, and I find myself in this spot again uncomfortably, but personally. So I want to just read a few notes. I do want to say that we all absolutely have the right to say what we'd like to say. That is the value of living in America. And when you do it under the city logo and you lead with your title, you are leading as a council member. And so that's where I have my issue. So I just want to comment. These comments are really not for me. They are for the dozens and dozens of Clovis residents, new and old, who reach out to me with some level of dismay at what we witnessed last week in our community. And first, which is going to surprise those of you that are still here, it is not around the issue itself. Contrary to the narrative that you tell yourselves about those who show up or those who do not, nearly everyone agrees for the need for fairness, for constructive discussion on how to deal with this issue, and how best to protect all of the kids living in a world that has far outpaced our thinking, our systems, our rules, and our current practices. The disagreement and dismay from our community is how we got here. This is a serious issue, and no serious issue has ever been solved through social media or a press conference. I reached out to both Senator Grove and Assemblymember Tongapa and expressed my appreciation for their measured, thoughtful remarks, for their willingness to always come with a possible solution to the issues we face and that they control and influence. As state legislators, it is their role to address this on our behalf, as CIF is a state agency, and their leadership is appreciated. I also want to commend the student athletes on both their incredible talents and on their grace and compassion and commitment to do their best and to support each other, even when some of the adults around them did not. As a place that cares about kids, one community leader pointed out to me that while it is one thing to pick a fight with an adult, it is quite another to take on a minor by name. That is what is unfair, and that is exactly what we did in this community. In the rush to dominate social media and advance political ambitions, we have lost the real storyline in Clovis. What price did we pay for the events of the last few days? The city manager reports $21,000 in police overtime. We know that other agencies like the school district police, CHP, and others likely experienced overtime costs for their officers. That number is likely underreported when you add in all the costs of supporting our officers with equipment, technology, and the like. We did not pass Measure Y to spend money on manufactured conflict. We made this happen, and we made our police officers spend $21,000 in overtime cost because we thought that was important. I do not think that is why voters voted for Measure Y. The CIF contract is up for bid during the next school year. What if our community's behavior jeopardizes future opportunities to host the state finals? That is a $6 million cost. And there are human impacts to our staff morale, to our residents, to our businesses, to our families. And there are costs to our reputation, to our brand. Last week's chaos was damaging to who we are, or who we used to be anyway, as the premier community in the Central Valley. It likely left a pretty unfavorable impression on the visitors to our community, the 1,500 plus athletes and families and coaches who made the decision to come to Clovis for this event. It didn't attract one new business, fix one pothole, or hire one new police officer. As Fox News proclaimed, we are now the epicenter of the transgender athlete issue. Really? That's funny, because I think our reputation was intended to be so much more. Safest city in the Valley, best place to live in California, and the best place to raise a family. But instead, this council majority has decided that 50 years of precedence, working together, not taking positions on issues outside our control. I will remember 20 years ago, we couldn't agree to support the zoo tax, for God's sakes, but this is where we are today. Having partisan beliefs, but not acting in partisan ways, and staying focused on issues that our community shares is not that important after all. And again, I say that not because we disagree on the issue. No one ever talks about the issue. We are all in search of fairness, but because I fundamentally and deeply disagree and reject the tactic of generating news for social media and candidates needing a platform and using the city's brand to do that. At the Mayor's Legacy Luncheon that we held a few months back, we heard from our past council members, some of them dating back 50 years, that one of the secrets to Clovis over 5 decades was that to always stay focused on Clovis, not issues outside our control. And that as elected officials, we can never forget that when we speak using our titles, we are speaking for our council and all of our community, and not just for ourselves. Some of us have decided that we know better. It is important that we continue to fight for the community values that have gotten us here and advocate for dialogue that is constructive and respectful about the real and serious issues that face our communities as we move forward. So thank you for letting me read that into the record, and I appreciate the chance to express those views. On a lighter note, you're going to talk about Measure C.
I will.
So I've been working with COG on Measure C, leading a small group that is going to meet for a series of 3 meetings to see if we can come up with a single plan. So on a constructive note, we will continue to work on that. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Mashwick. Mayor Pro Tem Pierce?
Yeah, so I don't have prepared remarks. I didn't expect what went down this evening, and I certainly didn't expect that. Well, to be fair, I did expect that in the previous comments. So I think the key
is... Dan, that is disrespectful.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I started to say I didn't expect it, but I did
But then you
expect
said, oh, but I
to say-
did. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I corrected myself.
Don't do that. Thank you. We are better than that.
Do you mean don't correct myself or don't?
Do not be disrespectful.
I did not intend to be disrespectful. I was just correcting myself. I knew you would have a problem with that, and I was starting to say I didn't expect it, but that's not correct. So, and that's really what the issue is I keep hearing, people keep trying to tell me, stay in your lane. Well, that's exactly where I am. I ran for this position, I was elected this position, and I am being responsive to the community that entrusted me with this role. I don't know who reached out to any other council members, but I certainly had people who are parents in Clovis Unified, people who are teachers in Clovis Unified. I have had members of the City of Clovis staff reach out to me and thank me for being willing to be their voice. We have teachers, we have parents, we have plenty of community members who for one reason or another don't feel that they can speak out how these things are impacting them. Well, I stepped up to the plate to be an elected official, to be a representative of the people, and that is what I am doing. You are welcome to bring your disagreements to me. I've heard from people also who don't agree with the position that I took, and that's their right as well. I think it is fantastic to be able to show the community that we want to talk about what our jurisdiction is. I mean, we have talked, and Councilmember Ashbeck has put forward a number of times that we need to advocate for the city of Clovis at other levels of government. So I reached out to our sitting member of Congress, Vince Fong, in his office. There is federal legislation being proposed to address this issue. I asked how I personally, not the city or my council colleagues as a whole, but how I personally could be supportive of that effort. I reached out to our state representatives, as noted by Councilmember Ashbeck, Senator Shannon Grove, Assemblymember David Tongapaw, asked how we could help, I could help, we as a community, the people who had reached out to me, to be helpful in the efforts that are going on, because this is a legislative issue. The problem is we have state law, AB 1266, that the CIF, California Interscholastic Federation, which is the governing body of our high school athletics, is pinning their policies on. They're saying we're adhering to state law. Well, we also have federal law, and Title IX, as has been brought out, from 1972 was intended to defend the integrity of women's spaces, including their sports. So I, as a member of the Clovis City Council, but as a representative of the people, am looking for ways to make sure that those in this community, our girls, our parents, are properly defended at every single level. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to act like that's not in my lane. It's exactly my lane, and I intend to stay there. Also, if you want to talk about the cost that was involved, yes, we did hear that $21,402.91 is likely the cost for some additional police overtime. I think, number one, we've heard that that was very well spent, and our police department did an outstanding job of making sure that the event stayed a safe space for all of the competitors, et cetera. If we're really concerned about the intents of Measure Y money and what that was for, on March 4th, this council heard an issue about a pedestrian bridge over 168, which the majority of the council decided to go ahead and terminate that project. But that would have cost the city an extra $1.3 million to complete Phase 2. And Councilmember Ashbeck, you were in favor of that $1.3 million. Also on April 7th, we had a recycling contract come back that was going to cost the taxpayers another $1 million plus to extend with our current provider, rather than doing the contract that this council ultimately approved. Councilmember Ashbeck, you were fine with that $1 million. Now we're going to quibble over $21,000 of police department overtime to provide safety for our citizens. I'm not buying that. I think that we had an incredible event. I commend the people who were there to ensure that it was a safe environment for the athletes and the families who were there. I made it very clear in all of the remarks that I made to the media and elsewhere that we were proud of the athletic facilities that Clovis Unified has and the ability to host the state track and field championships here. I think it's great to be able to showcase our city and welcome those athletes and their families. They did a phenomenal job of that. But I also want to close by what I think the focus should have been the entire time. If it wasn't for the distraction of the adults and the legislators and policymakers who didn't do their jobs to protect girls' sports and make sure that our biological females had a safe and competitive playing field with only biological females in their sports, we would have been focused on the athletes and their accomplishments. They spent years of hard work and training to make it to the state championships, and they got to showcase those abilities here in Clovis. That's fantastic. I applaud all of those athletes, and specifically, I want to give a shout out to Clovis North senior McKay Madsen. He accomplished a feat that hasn't been seen in over 100 years. McKay Madsen repeated his double state titles in shot put and discus. That's what we should be talking about. That's what we should be celebrating. And I hope that he knows just how proud we all are of his accomplishments, as well as all of the other Clovis athletes that were able to participate this weekend. They have my admiration and respect, and I think that's really what we should be focused on. I have nothing else.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, I'm the one that asked how much it cost for the extra police officers, because I wanted to know what we were spending on having extra security and whatnot for the event. There's also the factors of CHP and other involvements that came with this. So I know that you would mention Lynn, but it was me who asked that question.
Thank you. And I would just say this about American politics. It's safer doing it here. It's better that we can do this. We may not agree all the time, but at least we can discuss and it's good, even though I'm in between. I like to hear both sides. I think that we have great wisdom from someone who's been here and knows what we have gone through, and even seeing someone new who brings a different flavor. I think it's just the American way, and so we can. It wasn't an agenda item, so we didn't talk about it. But we're talking about council comment. All of us have every right to say what we want during council comments, and that's why I think the American system is just beautiful because of that. And we should appreciate that and welcome that and not silence that, at least not here, well, I'm mayor, I'm not going to stop any of you from sharing what you need to share. And so I wanted to put that out there. Anyway, I'll report out what we spoke at COG. And so Councilmember Ashbeck has been pushing safe routes to school, and finally we have allocated about $6 million and Fresno and Clovis, both cities, have opted out, so that way the rural counties, towns, can actually have some funds to actually do some meaningful projects. So if you know any of the school districts or any school towns, if any of you have them apply, the process is beginning right now. Secondly, we did vote Measure C. The COG board did, a majority, agree to have transportation for all and any other groups to continue to talk with our steering committee, our consultant, our staff. I want to thank Councilmember Ashbeck also for pushing us to the same table to get these discussions going. It doesn't stop any of the groups from doing what they have planned to do. So they will still go on their pathway. Hopefully it merges, because it's sort of one county, one plan, because two plans, both will fail, and that is the consequence we don't want. And so the FCTA, with Councilmember Ashbeck leadership there, will continue to do that. I went to two ribbon cuttings. One is for, I think, a super project that is coming to the Golden Triangle. I know that you don't like that name, but that's a name that we have. So Porsche, BMW, Audi, they're going to have a state-of-the-art, probably one of the best in California, one of the best showrooms, dealerships there, and sort of that gateway north, going southbound from Clovis Avenue into Clovis. That is just great that a local person, CJ Wilson, is willing to invest here locally and to build it and own it. And then I know that Foster's in Old Town on Clovis Avenue has been there, at least ever since I've been here, so I don't know how long, but quite a long time, and so they left. So the story of the gentleman of this Mexican restaurant, Las Mañanitas, he's been dreaming to come to Clovis, and he was so happy that he finally got that spot, and now he can, give us great Mexican food there as well. So another option for all of us in Old Town. And then congratulations to the graduates last week of Clovis Unified, and then I think 3 more graduations this week. So congratulations to all our Clovis High graduates. And that's all I have this evening. With that, we're going to move into closed session. We have 2 items. One is conference with labor negotiators, and the second is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Anyone in the public like to address the council on any of these 2 items before we move to closed session? Okay, seeing none. All right, we probably have nothing to report out.
We're not asking for action tonight, so
Okay.
there should be no report of action.
All right, thank you everybody for attending this evening.